Hello, class, and welcome back to another day of e-learning. So, what I have for you today is we are going to move on to topic 3, which is going to be page 23 in your notebooks. So, we've gone from talking about passive transport and active transport. And under passive transport, we have diffusion and facilitated diffusion. What we're going to be talking about today is something called osmosis. And this is a type of diffusion. So we know that osmosis has to be a type of passive transport. So right off the bat, we know osmosis is not going to require any energy at all. No energy required. The only difference is osmosis refers to the diffusion of water molecules across a membrane. There's no energy involved, and it goes from high to low concentration. So if you look right here, I have a beaker, and on one side, you can consider these sugar molecules or salt particles, whatever, and the pink liquid will be the water. Well, you can see on one side, there's a lot less salt, we'll call it salt particles, and there's more salt particles over here. So there's more of a concentration of salt and less concentration of water over here. That's the key. So what water is going to do is it's physically going to diffuse over here to even out that water to salt concentration ratio. Okay, do you see that? So now both sides are going to have an equal amount of the concentration of water, even though they don't have the same concentration of salt particles. Okay? Now, tonicity is the concentration of solute stuff. In this case, our solute would be the salt compared to the solvent, the dissolver, usually H2O. So the solvent is what does the dissolving. They both have the letter V in them. So in this scenario, you have the solute, which is the little purple spheres, right? The salt. And the solvent would be H2O. It's kind of like making lemonade. If you've ever added the sugar to your water, the solute would be the sugar. The solvent would be the water. Okay? Now, tonicity is the concentration of solute compared to solvent. And there's 3 different types. There's isotonic, when the concentration of solutes on one side is equal to the concentration of solutes on the other. So iso means equal. So they are equal to each other. Hypertonic talks about the concentration of solutes is greater on one side compared to the concentration of solutes on the other. So over here, this would be very hypertonic. Hypotonic is the concentration of solutes is less compared to the concentration of solution on the other. So if you were to look at this in an actual diagram, here we have waters going into and out of this red blood cell, right? And the number of solutes is equal to the number of solutes in the red blood cell. So water is flowing back and forth like normal into and out of our cells. Well, in a hypotonic solution, what happens is there's less solute on this side and more solute inside the red blood cell. So what the water wants to do is it wants to go from an area of, wants to go in here because there's less concentration of water. There's a higher concentration of water on the outside of the red blood cell and a lower concentration of water inside the red blood cell because there's more solutes inside. And what water wants to do is it wants to dissolve those things. So it's going to rush into your cell. And what happens is your blood cell expands almost to the point to where it's going to explode. So if you want to think about it hypotonic, like the shape your mouth makes, it's like an explosion, kind of hypotonic, it explodes. In hypertonic, there's less solutes inside the red blood cell and more water. On the outside, there's more solutes and less water. So the water is going to travel from an area of high concentration of water to low concentration of water, and it wants to dissolve these solute particles. And in turn, it shrivels up this red blood cell almost like a raisin. Okay? So if you think hypertonic, like the shape that your lips make, you kind of have to like pucker them a little bit. It kind of like, think about like the shape your mouth makes when you eat a Sour Patch Kid. It's kind of like, you kind of cringe up your face, right? Hypertonic, okay? It shrinks. Here in hypotonic, it swells. In isotonic, water flows into and out of the cell equally. So quick recap, osmosis only involves the diffusion of water, nothing else. And the water wants to go from an area of high concentration to low concentration. Now there's a high concentration of water over here, but not a high concentration of water over here. Although there may be a higher concentration of solutes over here. Now, since this is a semi-permeable membrane, these solutes might be too big to pass through. So it'll be easier for the water to diffuse through versus the solutes. If you have any questions about this, please let me know, and I will be happy to help you. But other than that, thank you, and I will see you